Hey guys, it's me again. Reason why I started this channel was to help out some of my friends who had recently purchased computer parts or computers, and they wanted to know more about, building and upgrading and things of that nature. And so that was the original focus. The first video or two that I did here was specifically centered around that aspect. Going in and building a computer from scratch, from buying all the pieces, putting them together, getting it into a case, checking to make sure that everything boots fine, installing the OS, all of that stuff back in my first video. I will link that in the whatever this thing is, the cards. Yeah, I'll link that in the cards. So click the little I, drop down, hit that one. That is building the Ryzen 7 3800X system. That video is quite a long video though, so if you already know what you're doing, you probably won't get too much out of that. But with this upcoming series, what I want to do is I want to take a look at the basics. Everything, from square one. This is how you do quite literally anything on your PC. So, in order to do that though, I want to start with a fresh, clean PC. I'm going to take this board that you might recognize from my previous video where we did a mock-up of a Ryzen 5000 series, and I'm going to take the Ryzen 3800X that I took out of my editing PC when I recently did the upgrade to the 5800X and drop into this board, and I want to use this as that computer that I do that intro to computing thing on. Now this PC does not have to be anything at all that's like amazing or anything like that. So I'm just going to grab this graphics card that I have laying around. This is the, what even is this? This is the HD 657X ZDHD ZDFR V6.1 HT8570 850M 1 gigabyte of DDR3. This is an XFX card that I picked up, maybe 2012-ish, I think, is when I got this card. And at the time, this was actually a pretty substantial upgrade over my, what did I have? The Radeon 6570 HD or whatever. This was a pretty decent card then. I have a power supply lined up from a friend of mine that I used to work with. He recently bought a new PC. He was planning on upgrading or building or whatever, and he bought a power supply and some other components and ended up just going out and buying a pre-built because, yeah, just go try to buy a graphics card. It's insane. But that's what he did, so I'm going to be picking up that power supply from him for cost. But for now, I have a random power supply laying around. This is not even an actual PC power supply. This is a server, 1U server power supply. It'll let me know if this thing boots or not. That's good enough for me. I currently have 32 gigs of Ripjaws DDR4. I believe this was the 3200. Yeah, this is the 3200 gigs sticks, and they are 3200 megahertz, rather, not gigs. That would be crazy, right? They're 8 gig sticks. We got 4 of them. So we got 32 gigs of that. That's 32 gigs at 3200 megahertz. Wow. Anyways, that's in there. We've got the crucial, what is this? The P2 500 gig NVMe SSD. That's we're going to use for our boot. We have an additional M.2 space here if we want to put in another one or a different M.2 drive. And depending on how I end up configuring this later on, I may or may not end up using that. I'm not for sure. For our case, I went and I did a lot of thinking about what I might do for the case for this thing. And, I put probably too much thought into it. And then I had to sit back and I had to think. And I was like, okay, wait, no. None of that's important. You know what am I actually going to use this thing for, right? So, yes, it's going to be the PC that I use for the Intro to Computing series that I'm about to start, but it's also going to be a case or a computer that I use for storage and backup and things of that nature. So the case doesn't really matter that much. I want it to be a little bit, neat or whatever, because it's going to be on camera, and I don't want it to be like something from 1980s or something like that. So, which actually, the 1980s wouldn't be too bad, because those things are actually pretty cool. I mean, I guess it depends on what your ideal of aesthetics are, but I don't know. Anyways, but I didn't want something that looked like, I don't know, like I dug it out of a dumpster or something. But I also wanted, something that would be useful. And this case is the same case that I used for a PC that I built for work. And they use it for a server and a storage thing as well. So I was like, well, don't fix it if it ain't broken, right? So I decided to just go with that case. It should be plenty enough for what I want to get done, and we'll just leave it at that and see what we can get done with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the A-series CPU, put this on the 3800X. We're going to use the stock cooler that we were using before. I'll use this just to power it up and make sure that everything, posts and everything, and put it in there, and it'll be almost ready to go, just waiting for our power supply. Once that comes in, we'll be good, and it should be just fine when we start our series next week. That's what I have projected. Should be starting next week on our series for Intro to Computing. So let's get started on this, and I'll catch you guys in just a minute. Alright, so next thing I want to do, now that everything's installed and put in here, is I want to boot this thing one more time just to make sure that everything was fine and that I didn't actually end up messing anything up whenever I was doing that installation, and then we will go from there. So everything's plugged in, same as it was before, still using this power supply, and fans came on. Like the LED in the front came on. CPU fan is on. We are getting video out, so that's working there. Now this will tell us one more time to install an operating system, so we haven't done that yet. But we're going to get that done. Hopefully that power supply will be in, and I will be able to get that installed soon. And if everything goes good, I hope this PC is the one that I'm able to use next week when we start our new series, Intro to Computing. So if you're excited about that, if you like what you're seeing here, give me that thumbs up. Make sure that you get subscribed so that you're notified when those videos come out. And I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Y'all take care out there.